Hi guys, today I want to talk to you about performance. We have, and I'm relating this to how we expect things from God. We can think that if we don't understand the purpose of grace and what grace did, and what forgiveness is, and how much of our Father loves us, we can think that we have to perform for God to bless us, or to answer our prayers. And that's absolutely not what how God does it. And let me show you how that works. As a parent, you love your child unconditionally. Yes, they can do things that are disobedient, that disappoint you, that make you upset, and sometimes you may even you may have to take things away from them, for not because you're trying to punish them in a bad way, but because you're trying to correct something so that they will not continue that course of action of behavior. So let's say you may take depending on the age of your child, you may suspend the privilege for that time being to that child, so that child will understand that behavior that they chose to execute or perform was not acceptable, and it's something that's going to be harmful to them or someone else. And so you cease a privilege for that time being, so that to help them to understand that there is a consequence for every action. Well, we do that because as parents we're trying to correct something. When God does something, He doesn't do, you hear people sometimes say, God will get you. No, God doesn't get people. When God gets people, it's a good thing, meaning He saves them, He delivers them, He heals them, He touches them, He changes them. He does great things. Our Father is not waiting to judge us. He's not looking at us and saying, hey, you didn't perform well today, so I'm not going to bless you. I'm not going to give you that prayer you asked for. That's not how God does things. When He died and He said it's finished, He meant everything. That meant He already knew every prayer you would ask. He already knew every need you would have. He paid for everything, meaning that now all we have to do is live and walk it out by faith, meaning that we do what we're supposed to do. We be responsible for that we're responsible for. When it's in our power to do a thing, we do that. We don't, and so I need faith for things that I cannot do. I don't need faith for what I'm looking at. I don't need faith to do some type of performance for God to say, hey, I'll release this blessing to you. He wants to release the blessing to me. He's already done so He said it in His word. It is finished. That meant everything. And so what that means is, what we're doing is, yes, we have to deal with people. We have to deal with our own fragile, state of, sometimes we doubt, that we should have a thing, or we think because of the law, because of the old ways, and sometimes people teaching wrong, we think that we have to perform. God has to see me going to worship, and He sees the way I worship, and He's judging that and grading me on that. God's not grading me. He already knows what my true heart is. Yes, this is the difference. God is not looking, He's not looking for me to perform, but He is expecting me to respond to Him the way that a loving child responds to a loving father. When you give something to your child, what do you expect them to do? You expect them to say thank you. You expect them to be grateful. You expect them to have an appreciative heart, and then to take care of that thing that you give them or that you've done for them. You expect them to be obedient because it's right, because they love you, not because they're obeying to get a gift. They're obeying because it's right. They're obeying because that's the response to a parent, is to respect and to love and honor them. So what we do for God is out of love, out of respect, out of response to how can love respond in any other way than but to return love? So that's how we respond to God, with love, and we obey because we love Him, because it's right, not out of law because we're trying to perform to achieve something. God is already His righteousness. He is our righteousness, and we obey because we love Him. And so don't let anything in your life think that you have to perform to get God to do something wonderful for you. He's already doing it right now. You're breathing. You're watching this video. That means you can see. You're hearing it. That means you can hear. You have every ability by God's grace is sufficient to do everything you need to do Everything that's in us that he needs us to do is in us. What we're trying to understand is, God, how do I discern and hear you clearly so that I may walk out correctly the way that you would have me to do it? So basically, we're asking God, be yourself in me, reveal the way that you would want me to do so that I can do it the way that you would have me to do. I want your mind, your spirit, your heart, your character, your nature. And that's what we do, God. So God is not looking for me to perform, but he is looking for me to respond to his perfect, beautiful, awesome love. And to do that, I do that by receiving it, his grace and his mercy. I receive his salvation. I receive his mind. I receive his heart. I receive his spirit. And I'll do and act like him. I'll walk in the blessings because I understand that I deserve it, not because I'm good, but because he's good. God's excited about your future, and so am I. God bless.